What is anchoring and adjustment? Anchoring and adjustment is a process in which a person's first thoughts and reactions are based on one piece of information and then change based on that one piece of information. The anchoring and adjustment heuristic talks about situations in which a person uses a specific goal number or value as a starting point, which is called an anchor, and then adjusts that information over time until it reaches a good value. Most of the time, these changes aren't enough and stay too close to the original anchor. This is a problem when the original anchor is very different from the real answer. Understanding anchoring and adjustment. Behavioral finance calls anchoring a cognitive bias in which people fixate on a goal number or value, usually the first one they get, like an expected price or an economic forecast. Anchoring is different from the conservative bias, which has similar effects but is based on how investors relate new information to old information. Instead, the conservative bias is based on how investors relate new information to old information. Anchoring and adjustment can be lessened by giving new information careful thought to see how it affects the original forecast or opinion. However, the traits of the person making the decision are just as important. The problem with anchoring and adjustment is that if the value of the initial anchor is not the true value, then all future adjustments will be systematically biased toward the anchor and away from the true value. But if the base is close to the real value, there isn't much to worry about. One problem with adjustments is that they can be affected by irrelevant information that the person is thinking about and making connections to the real goal value that aren't true. For example, a person might be given a random number and then asked a question that has nothing to do with the number. The question might ask for a guess or a quick math problem. Even though the random number they were shown had nothing to do with the answer they were looking for, it could be used as a visual cue to help them answer. Anchor values can come from yourself, from a price model, or a tool for making predictions, or from someone else. Studies have shown that some things can cause anchoring, but even when people are aware of it and try to avoid it, it is hard to do so. In experiments, telling people about anchoring, warning them that it can affect their judgment, and even giving them money to keep them from anchoring can lessen the effect of anchoring, but not get rid of it completely. Higher levels of knowledge and skill in a certain field can help lessen the effects of anchoring in that field, and higher levels of general cognitive ability may lessen the effects of anchoring in general. Personality and feelings can also be important. Anchoring is stronger in people who are sad and in people who are agreeable, cautious, introverted, and open. Anchoring and adjustment in business and finance. Anchoring and adjustment can be very useful in sales, price, and wage talks. Studies have shown that setting an anchor at the beginning of a negotiation can have a bigger impact on the end result than the actual process of negotiating. Choosing a starting place can change the range of all counter offers that follow. For example, a used car salesman or any other salesperson can start a discussion with a very high price that is probably much higher than the fair value. The high price acts as an anchor, so the final price is usually higher than if the car salesman had started with a fair or cheap price. When a hiring manager or a potential new hire suggests an initial price, a similar method can be used to negotiate the salary. Then either side can try to bring the conversation back to that starting point in order to find an amount that both sides can agree on. In finance, an analyst may use what comes out of a price model or an economic forecasting tool as a point of reference. One way to deal with this could be to look at different models or pieces of proof. Philip Tetlock, who studies social psychology, has found that people who make guesses based on a lot of different ideas or points of view, foxes, are more likely to be right than people who only use one model or a few big ideas, hedgehogs. If a researcher looks at a number of different models and forecasts, this may make his or her work less likely to be affected by anchoring effects.